Hey there, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, Black Friday is coming, and I have something really, really insane dropping for founders, creators, and business owners who want to launch faster, grow smarter, and actually keep up with technology and AI in 2026. No hype, just real tools and real results. So if you've been thinking about launching an app, a platform, or some kind of software for a startup or your existing business, do not miss this. It's going to be insane. So go to dapperNoCode.com and get on the list. That is all I have to say for now. Trust me, it's worth a click. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. I am Dan Hafner, and this is the Tech Bites podcast. I am joined by another guest today. Her name is Katherine Lacefield of Just Because Consulting. We're going to talk a little bit about nonprofit stuff today. Maybe you've always wanted to start a nonprofit. Maybe that's always been on your bucket list. Maybe you actually work for a nonprofit, or you have experience with that in the past. But this is something that I've always been kind of interested in. I've actually been approached by several nonprofits over the years of, hey, we need to build an app for this, or we want technology for this. And I have found that those have never really gone anywhere for various reasons. And when Katherine had reached out and asked to be, like, hey, let's maybe talk about this on the show, I was very, very intrigued because I've had some personal experience with this. So we're going to keep the theme of technology and business today, but we're going to dive a little bit into the nonprofit field. I'm pretty excited for some of these questions because I'm just very excited to get her perspective on things. So with that being said, welcome to the show, Katherine. How are you?
Well, thank you very much for that really cool intro. I'm also very excited to have this conversation because not as many people talk about it.
Yeah. So just before we dive into it, give us the 30-second version, like who you are, what you do, and how this is, relevant.
hmm So I've been working in the nonprofit space for over 20 years. I'm a nonprofit consultant now, so I help nonprofits with their fundraising strategy, which obviously includes a lot of tech implementation to do fundraising online, especially digital marketing, etc. So my specific niche is very much into the animal and environmental space. So I work with a lot of animal shelters, environmental advocacy groups, but I'm basically a fundraising nerd that also tends to be considered the tech queen for a lot of nonprofits. So the two combined makes a really good topic for this today's show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. How did you get into this? Was it something that just kind of happened, or did you kind of have a background in technology and then you decided to implement it with nonprofits, or how did you get into it? I'm curious.
For the tech component in particular,
Yeah.
when you work in nonprofits, and that's kind of what probably hooked you in. And when I sent out the message is that a lot of nonprofits are so far behind in tech that they're like in the stone age, right? Like we talk a lot about AI and they're still like on Windows 7. Like it's ridiculous. So as someone who's also now an entrepreneur and doing my business, and we can have a whole conversation on the tech tools that helped me run my business, I realized that a lot of these same tools that help startups expand and scale their businesses are not being used in nonprofits, and that's my target audience. So my experience building up my consulting practice really helped me realize these same tools that are being used by businesses need to be implemented in nonprofits, but they have a really hard time accepting that. And so that's kind of been my journey of helping my clients get into the tech world so that they can actually have a better impact on their communities.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because I have some experience in that as well. Um, why? So I launched a taxidermy application last year, and that is
Okay.
one industry that I've also found that is completely, like, even not even stone age, like we're talking like no age, like there's
No,
like
yes.
no technology in there. So I kind of have my theories on why certain industries are like that, and then they're just super resistant to adopting technology or new things. Why do you think, especially in the nonprofit sector that you've seen, why do you think, is it a mindset thing, is it a cost analysis thing, is what do you think the reason is so many of those businesses are resistant to adopting this stuff?
Couple reasons, I think. Number one, I think cost is a big one. I think a lot of nonprofits have this idea, and especially the public kind of reinforces this idea that nonprofits aren't allowed making money. So 100% of the funds need to go directly to the cause, which makes absolutely no sense. If you want to run an efficient organization, be it nonprofit or for profit, you need to invest in your systems, in your structure, and in yourselves, or else you just burn out and they're just constantly running around trying to do good things, but they're inefficient, which doesn't serve the right purpose. It's not it's not optimal at all. But unfortunately, the donation world, people are like, I want my $20 to go to the dogs, or I want it to go towards the children, like not towards staff, not towards your overhead. People have this huge thing like overhead is evil. So that really limits nonprofits' ability to invest in the systems that will actually improve their operations and allow them to have more impact on their community. So there's this perception of using money for the organization as being wrong. And so they have a really hard time investing in that. Number two is that there's very few grant makers out there that want to invest in tech. Interestingly enough, a couple years ago, we were trying to build this special edition around nonprofits in tech, and there was basically no research on it at all. And I was talking to a nonprofit tech expert, and she was like, I was trying to find research on the return on investment of tech in nonprofits. So, like, if we invest in a new CRM, what is the money that we're saving? What is the potential impact? And there was nothing. So, it's really hard for nonprofits to have a case for support to approach grant makers and say, hey, your $10,000 investment in our website and CRM is going to have XYZ impact. So, there's nothing that they can base themselves on to ask for grants for this very unsexy impact technology, right? Like it's not going to have as much of an impact on grant makers. So that's number two. Number three, a lot of people that launch nonprofits have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to run a nonprofit, but they're so passionate about the cause. They want to save all the dogs. They want to clean the rivers. Great. They're experts in the mission, maybe, and passionate about the mission, but don't know how to do the business nonprofit aspect. So they're all just shoestringing it along, trying to figure it out, but they don't know anything and they don't have the time or don't take the time to learn all those things before they launch. And then once again, they're back on that hamster wheel of like, we just need to do everything ourselves and everything's very manual and they don't take the time or have the capacity to set up the things properly. So those are my three. That's what I think. I'm not saying I did any research on that, but that's what I believe is going on right here.
Yeah, that last point particularly is interesting because it's very parallel to just kind of like the entrepreneurial.
Hmm.
You I mean that's kind of how I started my business. Was I discovered a thing and I was passionate about it and I'm like, oh, I could make money doing this, and was just kind of figuring it out as I went along. Didn't really know what I was doing. Just knew like I wanted to do this.
Hmm.
And I can see the same like as the founder, as the person out there doing, even if you have like a simple like one person coaching business or something
Yeah.
like that, like you're passionate about helping people, you're passionate about the result that you get for people, just like in a nonprofit you're passionate about the result that you get for those people or dogs or whatever. And you start to be like, well, I I can track all this in Excel, or you don't even realize you need the things that you need until like it's too late almost
Yes.
sometimes.
You're already
um,
knee deep and you're like, damn it, I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah,
People depend on you or you just quit your job. So now you have to do this.
yeah,
It's challenging for sure.
yeah. And I mean, I see the rub there with like, especially in a nonprofit, there's a lot more oversight in terms of um, dollars spent in
Yes.
expenses and things, and it can be very difficult to justify like, hey, we're spending $300 a month on this CRM tool. What actual like new sign up, like what return are we making, at least that back, or are we not making that back? Is that a sunk cost? So I do see the rub in that's got to be a little bit frustrating because I feel like there's like a big, like you said, I feel like there's at least in my mind, I've always kind of had this perception of like, oh man, nonprofits, they gotta have money, but then they never have any money, and it's like, what?
Yes.
You know
And
what I mean?
it's because there's these random numbers that have been thrown out there with absolutely based on nothing around the overhead and how much overhead is too much overhead. Like, oh my God, over 15%, that's ridiculous. And it's like, well, if you're a huge organization which offers a lot of services, you're going to need a lot of coordination. Is that program costs? is managing a database that's not just for fundraising, but also managing your volunteers, also managing your staff, also managing your program people. Is that a program cost or is that overhead? Like, what is and why is paying for rent to have a space overhead? If you don't have your space, you're not doing your programs. So I find it's really the social and public perception of admin and overhead as being wrong that is limiting a lot of nonprofits and even grant makers that are like, sorry, you can't have more than 5% of our budget allocated to administration. It's like you're screwing nonprofits over. Like, how much is the overhead for foundations? I've seen some that they're spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars and like to give out money. Like, if you need that much money to distribute money, imagine how much money nonprofits need to manage all their programs. It's very hypocritical. But that's a whole other conversation. Um, but I like what you said earlier around we can make a big parallel between entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders who are starting things. The difference, I think, is that entrepreneurs have the understanding, or at least hopefully, that if they're going to invest in the beginning, you have to spend money to make money, right? They understand that, and it is socially acceptable to spend money to make money in a business. But in nonprofits, it's like not seen as good. You can't spend money to make money to impact. You have
Interesting.
to just somehow have money land in your pocket, like land in your lap, and then you should do it. Just fundraise. Oh, because everyone is so damn good at fundraising, right? And so, in even fundraising, a funny statistic here. And so in Canada, there was this recent report that asked people, what is your favorite way of donating or of being solicited or what gets you to donate? And the top reason was of my own accord. Like they'll wake up one day and just go donate. How much of that is actually real, though? How many people wake up and just say, you know what, I'm going to go donate today? That doesn't happen. There's the subconscious marketing that has been happening for weeks, months, years that have gotten you to know which organization you're going to donate to and why. So if the nonprofit hasn't been getting into your field or into your vision, you're not going to just suddenly decide to donate to them. And that's what people don't seem to understand. Businesses get it. Nonprofits and people wanting to support nonprofits don't seem to get that very important factor of what motivates people to take action.
Hmm. That's really interesting. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like the perception around like I realize I have to spend money to make money versus in a nonprofit you have to like hoard it all. Um, but that's very, very interesting. Okay, so let's maybe try to look at something a little more rosy instead. Have you seen? Do you have an example of a nonprofit that was able to like, hey, let's maybe adopt some AI or let's invest in something, and then what happened? Do you have any like stories like that?
Yes, I have a great one. I have two. One that's more fundraising focused and one that's impact focused. So it's really different ways, and one's very AI. So the one is very basic tools, a fundraising platform that allows you to collect donations online without having to copy paste banking transfer information into your phone, which no one will do. So this nonprofit, they were in Albania, which is not supposedly they don't do email very much. So the founder was like, I'm not sure if we start doing email fundraising, I don't think it's worth it. We were like, you know what? I was like, please trust me. You have a lot of international donors. This is going to be worth it. So she invested not just in the tech of getting the CRM, of getting the email platform. They were very cheap platforms. It didn't take a lot of investment, but even $50 sometimes they're like, no, it's good. No. Anyways, but they invested also in me, in hiring me on a monthly basis to implement and, launch this strategy. So we started, she had on her donation page, it was literally a PNG of like, this is our PayPal, which you couldn't even copy paste into your PayPal. So you'd have to manually type it in and like transfer money to this Albanian bank account, which obviously is just annoying. People are going to say, oh, this is too complicated and move on. So yeah, she was still receiving donations. She had been alive for 12 years, but she had been herself funding the shelter like almost two to $3,000 every month, which is not sustainable. So I was like, let's get this on top. So we set up the donation platform. We imported all of her past donor data into the CRM. I started segmenting it, and we started sending emails to these people launching campaigns that were very cause specific, sharing them on socials and through email. A year later, we just surpassed, I think, $3,300 a month in regular monthly giving, which she did not have before. She is, as of June, so within 6-7 months, she didn't even have to send a single dollar to her organization for the first time in years. And obviously, what did this do from a cost perspective? Well, the weight of having to just be doing fundraising all the time and harassing their communities to give funds, they were able to save more animals, send more animals internationally and abroad, get involved in political and awareness campaigns. And so the weight that was lifted off of her shoulders by investing in me and in fundraising, she's doing so much amazing stuff around the world because of that.
Awesome.
And this is a simple, the ROI, and I'm going to be very transparent here. She invested $1,000 a month in me, and now that's over $3,300 coming in. That's just monthly. So from a ROI, that's huge. That
Yeah.
$1,000 has more than tripled the income. So this is one example from a fundraising perspective. Now, second one, a really cool case study. This is in Canada. This is with United Way. So everyone knows United Ways. And they were in the midst of COVID and they realized it was the 211 service. I don't know if you have an equivalent in the US where it's like a 911, but for community services. So people can call and say, I have no food in my pantry. I don't know what to do. I need food. And they'll direct them, according to where they are, to community services that can help them. So it's a helpline for community services. And they're across Canada. They're everywhere. So they have amazing data of who's calling, from where, asking for what. So then United Way, who is a grant making organization, was like, how are we going to be able to use this data to be more efficient into which services need an injection of cash in real time? So with AI, which allowed them to, analyze this data so much faster than if humans had to go and tag all of these different calls to what the services are required, they were able to, within a day or two, say, oh, everyone's asking for food. Let's inject more grants into community organizations that are doing food distribution. 3 months later, priorities have changed. In this particular area, they're very isolated. Let's inject more money into nonprofits who are helping bridge connections and break isolation. So AI completely transformed by saving time and being much more efficient into who they're distributing money to. So from an impact perspective, that's just huge. It saves so much time, makes it much faster response, and allows for all these community organizations to be able to respond better to community needs. So that's my two examples of how tech is pretty damn awesome into improving impact for nonprofits, but they're so scared of investing that it doesn't always happen that way.
Wow. Those are cool stories. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. So, I mean, yeah. And again, like, I think that again, we come back to a lot of the parallels with business, because really nonprofits are business. They're just like structured differently. But as you were talking about that, I was thinking like, okay, so what is your advice if someone wants to start a nonprofit, aka a business, for those of you in the business world? Um, like, what's that balance in terms of how early do you invest in some tech, some systems, some things, to balance, like, if you're self-funding this, if you've got grant money, where do you strike? I know this is very broad because we're talking about a range of nonprofits, but like, where is that balance of like, here is like when I should invest in this stuff, but also like how much I should invest in this stuff? I know you said there's a lot of arbitrary numbers out there. What advice do you give?
So, first of all, if you want to start a nonprofit, don't. There's a lot of nonprofits out there. You don't need to start your own, but that's another
That's
conversation.
funny.
But you don't need to. You can help and like collaborate with existing nonprofits. But I'll give a bit of from a founder perspective of a small business and of a startup myself. What helped me, and there's a very strong parallel for nonprofits. You don't need all the fancy bells and whistles from day one. You can start with very basic technology that is much more affordable. And that doesn't mean you can't evolve through time. So a lot of them will be like, we need the biggest, most powerful CRM. I'm like, you're not going to use it. Don't get the most fancy one. There's an email system that you can get $49 USD which for lifetime access that you can send unlimited emails and have 5,000 contacts. That is perfectly fine for someone who's starting. You don't need MailChimp, which can cost up to $160 a month to manage that same number of contacts. So I think it's about choosing the tools that fit what stage you're at in the process, but always make sure that the tools allow you to extract your data and then like throw it into the new, more fancy
Yeah,
software or tools later down the
for
line. Because
sure.
I've seen a lot of nonprofits and businesses who end up getting stuck with a CRM or with a tool because they can't take out their information, which is really annoying. So that's my one criteria of make sure your tools allow you to evolve and transfer to a better, bigger tool next down the line. What I also like is you don't need everything in the beginning in the sense of try to prioritize what do you really need for your current priority. If you're looking to grow as a business or a nonprofit, what are you trying to do? You're trying to acquire and build your network. So you need some form of tool to manage those relationships, be they with potential donors or with potential clients. So I do believe that some form of system to manage your contacts and to communicate with them regularly and in a more efficient way is probably the number one thing you're going to need in the beginning. I didn't have a website for 2 years. It's actually almost 3 years before actually while I was doing my business. I still made almost 100K as my business without a website. So it wasn't necessarily a key thing. I had a really strong LinkedIn profile and a really big network that was much more helpful than having a fancy website from day one. So, focusing on what's going to allow you to get money in the door as soon as possible, either as a nonprofit or as a business, is probably the things you should focus on first. Now, for AI, there's a lot of free AI out there that can definitely help you and start picking and choosing ones that serve multiple purposes. You don't have to have the specific AI that's going to do this very specific task. Try to find one that will allow you to do many different things and automate your processes so you can have less manual tasks to do. So you can focus on the most important thing, which is relationship building and networking, which should not, in my opinion, especially as a nonprofit, be automated. You should try to build those authentic connections with clients and your potential donors and community members so that you're not like looking like a marketing machine. Because people know, we know when it's an automated AI response. Like we're not
Mhm.
stupid. Like there's room and there's space for automations, but don't automate everything from the get-go. People are just going to think you're either a scam or that you're not a real business or nonprofit. So those are my tools that I would recommend focusing on. Don't get the fancy bells and whistles from day one. You don't need it. Number two, focus on tools that will help you communicate better and build your audience and your network of potential donors or clients. And number three, automate, yes, but not the relationship building component, at least not in the beginning. Those are my tips.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And again, I think for anyone who listens to the show regularly, at least in my mind, I see a lot of parallels to the software world. Exactly what I've been harping on this show for years at this point. Which is it. That's why I love software so much. Is it's just such a microcosm of so many logical ways of going about things. And I guess that's just me like making a little nerdy connection of like why like that's cool. But yeah, exactly what you said. Like I think it can be very MVP style. It can be very like what do we need minimally to make this work to be able to track things. And I would very much agree with you. I didn't have Gosh, I'm trying to think of when I started my business, how long it took me to get like an actual like CRM or some kind of system in place, and it was a long time.
It's
And
long.
now I have it humming like so
Yeah.
well, um, both with automated processes and manual processes, like you said, where that's kind of differentiated. And I mean, the lead flow I have is way higher. The quality of communication and people that I bring in and stay engaged is higher, and sales are higher. So it's like, yeah, it took me some time to like kind of comb through that and set that up and get those processes in place,
But it
but
was worth it.
it's worth it because it's like upfront work that pays off down the road. So yeah, but this very very well said. Very well said.
And exactly like you said, I think it takes time. Like a lot of nonprofits have, and a lot of entrepreneurs have this idea that they're gonna just like buy this new fancy software and like plug it in and it's gonna work.
Well, that's our microwave society, I think, you
Right?
know?
Like
Yeah.
it's the easy instant fix. Like it took me a while to even just get my email set up to work properly and to get my segments and to get my automations and to connect when people book meetings with me. It took me a while to even figure out what I want to automate. So you have to just practice. But one of my biggest ad- pieces of advice that I give nonprofits is don't wait for it to be perfect to start using it. Use it and you'll learn by using. I have Zapier/Zapier. I never know how to pronounce this word. And I was like, I'm really not using it to the maximum. So I'll keep the free one until I have the time and capacity to maximize and make the $40 a month worth my time. But making those decisions of which tools you want to invest in if you have the time to actually implement them. That's another thing. They'll spend, I've seen clients, my clients included, who will spend thousands of dollars on a development plan and then just not use it. And I'm like, what's the point? Maybe that's not what you needed. So instead of just going on to what everyone else is telling you need, because you're bombarded with, you need this new AI tool, you need to get this, you need to get that, actually sit down and like, what is actually causing me pain and annoyance as a leader right now or as a founder, and focus on those pain points first. Are you annoyed with the fact that you have no way of communicating, you're doing everything on Gmail and it's impossible to keep track? Okay, then you need an email management software. Are you fed up of manually filling out grant applications? Okay, then maybe you should invest in an AI that'll help you fill those out more, automatically. But people just want to get all the fancy shiny stuff and then they buy them and then they don't use them and they're, oh, what a waste of money. And it's like, well, that's on you. That's on you,
Yeah.
dude. And that's a big
Yeah.
problem with a lot
I've
of
done that a lot.
these tools.
I'm
Oh,
guilty
me
of that.
too. We've all done it, but we need to learn from that.
Yeah. No, it is. It's I've had that happen before, and it's frustrating to me to, like somebody hires me to build something, and then I see them just never really utilize it. And it's like, I mean, one, it's again, it's like, well, I still got paid to do that. So that's okay. But it's also like, I hate to see that, like, even I put like the time and effort of my day in my life, in my team's time in life into building this thing. And then it's not used. It happens a lot more rarely anymore, but it's also very, very deflating. And like, man, like, this is a cool thing. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
should use it.
You should use it. Yeah. But yeah. And then just a little tip for you. I heard this from a good friend of mine and I've remembered it. Zapier makes you happier. And that's how I remember to
Oh,
pronounce it.
that's good.
So
And it's a zap, right? It's not a zape. So
exactly. Exactly. So when I hear Zapier, I'm like, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to
no,
be
it's
said, but
not. But it's I don't know why. That's how for a
Zapier
long
makes you happier. Yes.
I like
There's
that.
also a really cool tool out there that I need to dig into more that's called N8N. That I have heard nothing but great things about. It is being used by a lot of people, and I would think that some entrepreneurs, some nonprofit people would really benefit from something like that.
What does it
So
do?
that's something worth looking into as well.
What is it?
N8N. It's basically a more robust Zapier for tons, and you can automate so many different things. There's AI embedded in it. It's a really, really powerful tool. You got to know a little bit more of, kind of have a little bit more of a technical inclination in some parts of it.
Mm.
But I've seen people pull off some really amazing stuff, like with, even for, you know, uh, what am I trying to say? The word donation management and follow up and appointment booking and like all these different things. So, yeah, anyway, it's a really neat tool to keep in mind.
I think a lot of people don't even understand what is possible. And that is why I think
Yeah.
the biggest like stop the block, even for myself, who is I love learning about tech. I just realized and just set up for the first time a great like lead generation and management and cultivation where I book a call. And this is good for businesses and for nonprofits. You book a call with someone who's interested. It could be a potential donor, it could be a potential client, have an automation that thanks them and that asks them for a story in a follow-up email. But then how am I supposed to remember to like, I need to follow up with this person? So I just set up this easy automation that not only will it put them in a particular segment of like potential donors or potential clients. It'll also add a task because I'm a big, like, I need to check things off. I had a checklist task 2 weeks after the call that would automatically be added to my Google Calendar to follow up with them and includes their email in the task. And so I don't have it's the I don't have to think about it. It
Hmm.
will automatically pop up. What I do with that after the fact is up to me. If I don't have time, if it wasn't a good conversation, I delete it, no problem. But the guesswork of like, oh, who did I have to follow up with is gone and it's automated. It took me 15 minutes to set up and now it like saved so much time. And this can
Yeah.
be useful for entrepreneurs or for nonprofits. They just don't think about it.
Yeah, and I mean that also reminds me of, we talked about this earlier, of like when you experience these pain points of like I'm swamped with so many appointments. Okay, I need to
Mm,
just either automate that or delegate that kind of thing, and then you solve for X, right? Like I'm solving for that problem. So there's one way to kind of like figure out, okay, here's the tech that can facilitate that and do that. But then there's like, just like you mentioned, there's also this whole other world of like, I don't even know what's possible. This is kind of where I've been in my business, in my mind lately, is like, what can I start doing that is going to level up my client onboarding experience? That's going to
yes.
level up my client fulfillment experience. And again, like I don't even know most of what is possible out there,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's one of the main things is that all of this AI stuff and all this technology really allows for is like your imagination can almost be the limit. And it's like, okay, yes, I have problems over here that I need to solve for, and technology can help me do that. But on the other side, I also like where do I want to go and what do I want to accomplish? And then how can technology help me get there as well? And that's like a whole other bigger bucket that's like way, 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 way bigger, you know?
A very deep bucket.
Very.
This is where, like, not to pitch, but this is where consultants often can come play a role.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can do all the YouTube searches you want on, like, what should I focus on? And, like, that won't necessarily take your particular context into play. This is why I love doing 90-minute sessions with nonprofits where I'm like, okay, tell me about your situation. Then I'll be like, okay, what should we prioritize? What should we work on? Do you have this? Do you have that? Because I have worked with dozens of nonprofits and there are basic things depending on which level you're at and depending on what problem you're trying to solve. There are often basic systems that you need to implement. So I'm like, well, your donation process sucks. I saw one yesterday that someone that approached me. I'm not going to name them. I get onto their page and I always do a little audit of like, how's your donor experience? Their donation, the first question was enter two dots. I'm like, enter what? What? What does this mean? And then it was purchase. And like, what am I purchasing? I'm not purchasing, I'm making a donation. So I'm like, your process sucks. You're using the wrong tool. You're using a sales platform instead of using a donation platform. So having someone from the outside who's not, so focused on the work, get you to do a little audit can really help you kind of get out of your own bubble and understand what's going on. So I think inviting, it could be a friend, it can be a family member to say, okay, you're a client, try to buy something from me. Tell me what problems you encounter. Get outside perspectives on
Yeah.
how you're working. Because people are like, well, I couldn't even find your website. Or I didn't even find the donate button. Oh, well, it's hidden in this page on how to help. And it's like in small and like, well, yeah, no, no, duh, no one's donating to you. So sometimes I think it's really helpful to either hire a consultant if you have some spare budget, which as a nonprofit you probably don't, or ask a friend and family to help you understand what's not good about my website or what's not good about this or what do you feel or what do you see. External help and advice really helps.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like beta testing of apps as well. So,
Video
we're
games
all
need to be tested from other people, right? You're like, yeah, it's great. And they're like, no, this sucks. Like, I don't even know. I don't understand how to get to them. Well, it's true. It's not obvious. Only obvious to us because we're the ones that built it.
yeah, I had that happen yesterday with a client. They're like, where's I think I'm logged into the wrong where do I go? And I was like, it's so intuitive to me because I've just built it at 900 times at this point. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
you click down here, you sign out, and he's like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And I'm like, that's like I realized I got into that trap of like always doing it the same way, not explaining it, you know? But no, this has been awesome. So, all right. Well, yeah, real quick, where can we go to learn more or connect with you as well?
I'm a LinkedIn girl. I'm all over. I'm all about LinkedIn. I think it's the greatest place to connect. Less drama. Well, Katherine Lacefield, you can find me on LinkedIn. If not, if you do want to check out my website, which I do have now, it's justbecause.consulting. I love supporting nonprofits. So if you ever have any quick questions, I do have a contact page where you can always ask for a free 30-minute session with me. So there you go.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We'll have those links for you guys in the show notes as well. Yeah, and I think this was really useful, very insightful conversation. I could see, and I'm sure many of you who are listening can kind of draw these parallels between what we talked about today, and even building your own software, building your own apps. At least I can see that. Like, there's so many cool lessons, just to take away, not only for business but for software, for technology, for everything with this. So very, very useful, very insightful interview. So thank you very much, Kath, for coming on.
My pleasure. And if anyone is thinking of starting a nonprofit, I do have a podcast as well, the Just Because podcast, which I give a lot of kind of similar advice from a tech and onboarding experience, but kind of geared towards nonprofits. So don't hesitate to check it out.
Very cool. All right. We'll put the link for that as well here. All right. So thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it. As always, thank you all for listening. And be sure to like and subscribe to the show and the channel. That is very, very helpful, and we really appreciate that. If you know someone who might get value out of this, please share this episode with them as well. That is it for this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bites, your go-to show for software business and technology. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest episodes, insights, and stories. Hungry for more? Dive deeper into the world of no-code by visiting dapanacode.com. Your journey to building amazing software without coding skills starts there. Connect with like-minded creators and unlock a world of resources tailored just for you. Subscribe now. Explore Dapper No Code and let's innovate together.